All right, guys, welcome to Conversations with One Percenters. I have Joe Sulima here with me. Joe, appreciate you for taking the time out of your day to hop on this podcast, and looking forward to hearing more about you and what you do.
I'm happy to be here, Marcos. Thanks for inviting me, and look forward to chatting with you and sharing some insights.
Yes, sir. And Joe, so we have a new ritual that goes on, and so basically, how it works is you get to ask the first question for our next podcast guest without knowing who it is, what they do. So if you want to just if you have a question in mind for them, let us know what that question is.
Oh, that's a good one. I would say, what was your favorite book?
Favorite book. Okay, perfect. I will be asking that on my next podcast to the next guest. I have your question coming up. Waiting for the text to come in, but I'll ask that here shortly in a little bit. But before I ask that question, can you run us through, take us back, or let us know, our audience know, what do you do in a nutshell?
Sure. Basically, what I do is help entrepreneurs build sales teams. So depending on the kind of business they own, whether it's a service-based business and they do face-to-face selling, or maybe they're a online service provider or agency or something like that, or a coach consultant, and they need to build a team of high performing sales reps. I help them put those pieces together, put the structure in place, figure out exactly the kind of people they need, where to find them, how to hire them, then how to lead them, and put all these pieces in place so they can have a seamless operation, have a high performing sales team.
Interesting. That's very important. Sales is the number one thing a business needs to survive. So it's interesting you help businesses with that. And I have a question for you on sales. There's a few questions. I did my research on some groups that I'm in. I was looking for the most awesome questions that people were asking about sales, and I also have my own questions of just struggles in my own business with sales. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So I have a lot to talk with you about today, and we're gonna dive deep and looking forward to what you have to share and your beliefs and processes and mindset and things about sales. So I know you like to talk about leadership too, so I do want to dive into that as well.
Sure.
So sales leadership, that's going to be the nutshell of this podcast today. But before we dive deep into sales, I want to know what got you into this.
That's a good question. When I got out of school years ago, I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. Most kids, get out of high school, you figure out what I'm going to do. You go to college, you're not sure what you want to do, and you have to make that decision of what you're going to do for the rest of your life. I had no idea. And at the time, my roommate was a salesperson. So he's like, get a job in sales. I mean, I wanted to make a good living, and I had to take a look at what my assets were. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, so finance and Wall Street was not right for me. Going to law school, again, not really what I was looking for. But I wanted to figure out what was the kind of profession I can get into that I can get paid for what I'm worth, that I can get paid for the better I do, the harder I work. So if you take a salary job and 4 people are in the same office, everybody's doing the same, one's outperforming everybody else, but they're still making the same amount of money. I didn't want to deal with that. I wanted to get some kind of role that the more I work, the harder I work, the better I was, the more money I could make. And sales just seemed to be the way that you can do that, which is a little bit unlikely because I'm very much an introvert. I'm the last person you would think would go into a career of sales. But I wanted to make the money, and I took a look at my assets. You don't have to be highly educated. You don't have to be very intelligent. You just got to work hard and learn the process. And if you can do that, you can be successful. And that's kind of what got me started in the role of sales.
Interesting. And so for the people out there who are in sales and they're like, yo, I'm already in sales, but I'm not making no money. What would you say to them? Because there are some people say it's the vehicle too. You have to have the sales, you got to be good at sales, but you also got to find the right vehicle to make that money.
You're great point, Marcus. You need to have a product that you can make money on and that people want in the marketplace. So part of figuring out where it is that you want to have a sales career is what kind of products do you like that you want to sell? What can you be comfortable selling? And, is there a need for it in the marketplace? So there's a lot of offers in the marketplace where you see a lot of, hey, we're looking for a high ticket closer, come work for me. but they really don't have a good offer in place. They don't have a good structure in place, and they're just looking for somebody to go out in the market and test it. If you don't have a lot of experience and you're not really sure, about the offer, then you're better off just going to get a regular corporate sales job. Especially if you're new to it, you don't have much training. There's so many companies out there that will train you and give you sales training and give you the assets you need and the resources you need to be successful. And then from there, you can do anything. But I would say if you're currently selling, you're not making any money, first is your skill set. And if it's not your skill set, then, okay, what about the product or service you're offering? Is there need in the market? Is that the issue? But more often than not, I would always take a look at what your skill set is. Sales is a process, but it's not easy, but it's also not hard. But there is a process, and you need to follow that process to be successful.
I kind of want to use my own business as an experiment in this podcast today. So we're not going to use my current one, but we're going to use the one that I had back in 2017. So I started a marketing agency. The first thing I did was I went out and just went door to door and was like talking to people and trying to sell them. And it was more low ticket. I had a fear, and I don't know if you find this common with in sales and the people that you work with and help, is selling high ticket. For instance, me, I'm like, I was told by my mentor to sell no less than like $3,000, but I ended up selling things that were like $300, and I never went anywhere. So, do you find that common, where the people you're helping, that you're helping them transition from lower ticket to like selling higher? You're like, hey, you're not like what you're selling. You're not gonna make nothing.
That's a valid point. The product that you're selling, the cost and the profit that you can make on what your commission is really going to be a big factor. So if you're in the agency world, and there's a lot of agencies that are out there and they're selling their fees for, $300 a month, depending on what is involved in that, $300, $400, $500 a month, if it's a recurring model and once they're on board and you don't have to do a lot of work, if you get 10 of those, that's $3,000 to $5,000. I mean, it's $60,000 a year. It's not bad, versus having a regular corporate job. On the same side is, it's a low ticket. And if you're doing all the work, especially in your case, you're an agency. So for that $300 to $400 or $500, you still have to go and do all the work and do the fulfillment. And if you look at the amount of hours, you're probably better off getting a job at Starbucks, right?
No, it really was. Honestly, I looked at my like what I was doing, and I was like, at this point, it's better for me to get a job, and that's what I did. Like I was like, it's better for me to get a job because at the end of the day, I'm working with like 10 to 15 $300 clients, and I can't turn my phone off. I'm literally have my like phone in my hand 24/7, or like it could be a Saturday or Sunday and they're hitting me up like, hey, boom, this needs done. And you're just kind of like a doer. It's like, do this. And you don't want to like not do it because you don't want to risk losing that $300.
Yeah, in that kind of case, you're not really a business owner. You just have a high paying job. And in that case, it's not even a high paying job. You just have a job. So if you're going to go the agency route, the minimum you should be charging $1,500, $2,500, somewhere in there. But it comes down to value. If you're selling agency services to roofers and the average price of a new roof is $20,000, if you get him one client a month, based on the margins, you can charge him $2,000, $3,000 a month, and it's a nice transaction. You get 10 of those a month, all of a sudden the numbers look a lot better, and it's really worthwhile. If you're working with hair salons, well, the average haircut is what, $50. If it's a women's haircut, maybe it's $100. I don't know. But if you use that example, they just don't have enough margin to pay you more than that. So you're stuck at that. So if, is that example with the agency route, it's a matter of what product or service you're selling, and it comes down to the value. So if you're selling that value, you can get them a lot more money back, then it's no brainer to sell a $3,000 product. Makes it pretty easy.
So what do you look for when what did you? I'm kind of curious. What did you look for when you started your first sales job? Like, what were those key things you were looking for the business you wanted to work with? Because you said you want to make a lot of money, and I think anyone who watches these podcasts wants to make a lot of money. Like their goal is to make a lot of money. What were you looking for in the business that you chose to work with?
Good question, Marcus. The first thing I look for is what is the product or service? In this case, it was a service. What's the service that they have in the marketplace? And what is the need? Is this something that's going to be easy to sell? One of the things I talk about all the time is what's that Ferrari factor, right? It's not hard to sell a Ferrari,
No.
right? There's a waiting list, and people sue to try to be able to buy a Ferrari. And you're on a waiting list for 18 months or so, maybe longer, to buy a custom one, right? So what's that Ferrari factor? Same thing with Apple. It doesn't, there used to be people that lined up around the door when they came out with a new iPhone. Now you get it in the mail. But what is that product or service that people actually want? Because if they want it, it just makes it a little bit easier to sell. And then, of course, there's competition and things. But I look for, what is the service or product I'm selling? And what is it, the need in the market? Is there a need in the market for something like this? So that's the first thing I look for. And second, is this something I'd want to do? There's certain things that I can easily sell and work with people on, but it's just not very exciting. I wouldn't want to sell, concrete, right? That's just not very exciting. Somebody's got to sell it, but
Yep.
it's just not the most exciting product in the world. Versus, one of the clients I work with, he has a business coaching program that he helps companies, grow their business. He has a specific methodology he works with. But it's very exciting because he can take somebody and literally 10x their business, within a 12 to 24 month period following his processes. Well, that's exciting. That's something you get into, you can really get your arms around. So it's something that, there's a need in the market, but also something that I'm interested in. I'd have no interest in selling, IT security products. Just, no interest to me. So that's the thing, what's the price point? How much money can you make with it? Is it something you're going to like doing? And is there a market for it? Do people in the market actually want this product or service?
What would you say is also, wait, hold up. Is all sales, not all sales is commission based, but what would you say to someone who's like, okay, well, the job that wants to hire me right now is commission based only? Like, do you recommend people go into those only, or do you recommend some kind of base pay?
It depends on the product or service, and depends on, what your situation is.
Okay.
So if your situation is that you need that paycheck and you really can't afford not to go without a paycheck, then the best route is to get a job that pays you that salary. It may limit your income, but if that's the situation you're in, then that's the situation you're in. If you're going to go the 100% commission route, one of the things, depending on how leads are generated as well. So if you're going in, high ticket sales, one of the things you mentioned, and if the company's providing you with leads on a regular basis, they're decent quality leads, and you can close a certain amount, then the commission rate, what's the commission rate going to be? And based on that, then you can make a decision on, is it okay to go full commission? Or, there's a lot of companies out there that are offering 100% commission, and they can be extremely lucrative, but it may take you a month or two to get up and running. So if you're confident in your selling skills, it's a good product or service and the market needs it, and you can get up and running within that 30 to 60 day, and you have the financial withdrawal to hold off, then the less somebody pays you on a base salary, the more money they'll typically pay you on a commission, and the more money you can make. So I always say that's the best route to go if you can, but not everybody's in a position to do that. So if you can, then get a sales job that pays you some kind of salary. If they are paying you a salary, they're probably not generating leads for you, so you have to go generate your own leads, but they're probably giving you some training as well. So that's the trade-off.
Interesting. Now let's reverse it. Say I'm a company, right? Let's reverse it. Say I'm a company and I'm ready to hire or I think I'm ready to hire a salesperson. When is the best time for a company to hire a salesperson? Like, how much money do they need to be having coming in? Because most people think like as soon as they start making money, they're like, okay, well, I got other stuff I got to do. I need to hire a salesperson. And then they hire too early. And then maybe that salesperson doesn't produce right away. And then they're like, oh, well, I need to get rid of my salesperson. So like, when would you say like that best time is to hire a salesperson?
The best time to hire as a salesperson is when your calendar is filled. Let's say, you're doing fulfillment, you're doing other things, but if you're doing 4, 5, 6 hours a day, 6 calls a day, and you just can't really take any more capacity wise, that's when you want to take a look at bringing on a salesperson to get you off the phone. One thing I'd say about that is before you bring a salesperson on, there's a couple things you need to do. One, you need to make sure that your sales process is dialed in. So it's replicatable, that you can give it to the salesperson and say, hey, this is the process. This is how it works. This is how we handle objections. This is how we do everything. And once you have that sales process dialed in and you can hand it off to somebody, also have the expectation that the owner, the person they're going to be working with. So let's say it's a coaching business or it's an agency business and they're working directly with you. They know who you are. That you'll probably close a little bit of a higher rate than if you bring a salesperson on, because sometimes you're not the expert, right? So there's a different level of expertise going on there. So the best time to put that in place is one, when your calendar is booked that you just can't take any more calls, put that process in place, make sure it's documented, and then bring somebody in. I'm not a big believer in, hey, let's bring on 3 closers and see which ones work out. It never works out. I truly believe in take your time hiring the right person, giving them the training and support they need, and then when you're ready, hire the next one. But the other approach, and if you've been in the industry, you'll see massive turnover because there's not a good onboarding process in place and they don't have a good sales process in place. And the sales reps aren't successful and they have that revolving door and say, I have to go take sales calls again because my sales reps suck. Well, no, it's your
the process sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you don't recommend the salesperson doing like one thing? For instance, like I'm going to hire a salesperson. He's just going to do like booking, like outreach and booking the meetings. Do you recommend them like to be like the overall salesperson where they like book and close, or just like, do you need to hire two different people for that?
Those are 2 different skill sets.
Okay.
There's the setters and the closers, where the setters are going out there and, booking things. Those are tougher positions. And because of the way it's set up, those sometimes they're lower experience levels. So sometimes it's just a pure numbers game. And I find that it's more effective to pay them a little bit of a salary and then bonus on top of that. And a closer, that's all they do. I mean, that's their expertise. So I believe that they're 2 different skill sets. And there are some companies that will do let's do all one. Well, you're the setter, you're the closer, you do everything. I don't find that as effective. I find that they're a complete different skill set. So if you're a great setter, then be a great setter. If you're a great closer and you're good at that part of it, then you should do that. I just haven't found anybody that's been great at both yet. They're probably out there. I just haven't met them.
Okay. I did see a question online, but I have my own question first. What is the reason I have this question? I'm not gonna lie, because I was doing 100 sales calls like this one incident literally, and I don't know if you see this happen. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I was making sales calls back in one of my old businesses, and I was doing like 100 a day. And then next thing you know, I'm like on the call with this guy. He wasn't going nowhere. He was just like, those people who just like you're on the phone with, but it's not going nowhere, but you just stay on because like you hope it does. It was one of those. Yeah, he was one of those. And next thing you know, like all I hear is his wife yelling, and his house caught on fire during our call.
Oh, okay.
And then I never made it. And then I stopped making calls after that because I felt like I was like, shoot, like I had all this like weird feeling like, oh, like is this dude gonna come back and sue me because I was on the phone call with him, or like so. The reason I'm asking this is like, what is some of the weirdest objections you got for not being able to do business?
Well, weird objections. I guess the weirdest objection I've ever gotten is that somebody was looking for it was social media. It was an agency I was working with, was trying to help put things together. I was listening to some of their calls, and they were looking for somebody that would do the social media for them, would do their websites, would literally come and run everything for them for like half the price of what the customer was charging. So it was just, I want everything and I don't want to pay you anything. And oh, by the way, if you don't perform, I want a refund. So it's just one of those craziest things. And I think part of it, Marcus, what we saw in the industry not too long ago is you saw so many of these ridiculous offers, like I'll do this, this, and this for you. And if it doesn't work out, I'll refund your money plus 20%, right? The irresistible offers. I say that came up a lot in those days, and I started to see some really weird requests for things like that. Okay.
Like I'll work with you for free, basically. Like this is free, and then like, what do you think about free? Like, do people take that seriously?
Some do. I think that depending on where you are and what you're doing, there's, I think a better approach is to give some great free content and get people to know what you can do. And hey, if you can make some money, or whether you want to lose weight or whatever it is that you offer or help people with, help them in advance, right? It's nothing new about that. That's been around forever. Evan Pagan talked about, moving the free line. Frank Kern talks about results in advance. It's the same thing. Help somebody for free before they actually become a client. I believe that's a great way to do it. I'm not a big believer in coming in and doing some work for free and saying, hey, if you like it, pay me afterwards. It can work, but I haven't seen as many successful people versus, hey, let me just show you up front, read my content, take a look at it, put some of these things in practice. And if you like it and you're getting some results, then let's have a conversation. So I think it depends on what the services you're offering, because there's a lot of people who take advantage of you. Yeah, I'm just not a big believer in that. Just give some good service away, give good insight away, give good content away. And then from there, people will gravitate and they'll want to work with you.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that for a long time the free was going around where it's like, okay, you need to do for free, and then you need to charge them. But every time I've done free, I've never had like a good experience with that, because I just feel like they weren't motivated to give me any money. Like, not that they weren't motivated to give me any money, they weren't motivated to do any work themselves. So it's like the work you needed them to do, they weren't going to do it because I feel like they weren't invested into it.
Exactly. They have to have some skin in the game.
Yeah.
And if they're not willing to do that, they're not taking it seriously. And depending on what your offer, this was huge in the agency business. We'll come in, we'll do this for free, and if we don't get your results, you get all your money back, plus 20% of any ads. I mean, there's crazy things in the market, and they don't work. That's why you don't see them anymore. And people with crazy guarantees to take my program, go through it for 12 months, and if you're still not happy at the end of 12 months, I'll give you all your money back. Well,
Yep.
A lot of those companies aren't around anymore.
Yep.
So I'm not a big believer in the free. Free information is one thing, but working for free, I have not found that to be the most effective strategies to get customers.
So we got our question in.
Okay,
I got it right here. This is the question that was supposed to be asked at the very beginning. I completely apologize. We did back-to-back podcasts today. What was the moment you were close to giving up, and why did you not give up? So and we're talking about business. It could be in business, mainly business. Like, was there ever a moment where you're like, man, it's not going nowhere, I want to give up? Like, what was that moment? And then what kept you from not giving up?
God, I think every entrepreneur goes through that on every 6 months or so.
No,
that's kind of the nature of what we do. And for me, it was just one of those days where it was just back-to-back things that went wrong. Customers wanted refunds, people weren't showing up for phone calls, employees stealing on me and just taking off, getting your, merchant account shut down. So I had one of those days where a couple of those things happened all at the same time. It's like, I just want to give up, curl up into a ball and go get a corporate job again and do something. And really, the biggest reason that it keeps me going is my family. It's what's your biggest why to do things. And me, it's always my family. If it wasn't for them, maybe I wouldn't put up with much of the struggle. But I want to provide them with a certain lifestyle. I want to give them a certain amount of freedom. And this, being an entrepreneur gives you the ability to do that. So when things are tough and when things are not going the way you want, and you're like, oh man, this sucks, I don't want to do this anymore, I'll just do something. That's kind of what keeps me going. It's really, my family is the first. But second, which a lot of people don't talk about, a lot of people will talk about the family. But second, there's a lot of people that need help with what I do. I mean, I'm not, the only person that does it. I think I'm pretty good at helping people build sales teams. But a lot of companies give up on their sales team. Having a sales team isn't worth it. I want to go just do live events, or I'm going to do something else and just sell on webinars, because they haven't figured out how to create a good sales team. And there's a lot of people out there that need my help. So in addition, there's all those people out there that are about to give up because they haven't cracked that code. And if I can help them, if I can help a few of them, then it makes a big difference for their lives as well, because now they can go from a 6-figure business to a 7-figure business, because now they're not doing all the work on their own. So those are two of the driving forces that keep me going when I just feel like saying, screw this. I don't want to do it. That's it.
Yeah, no, that was powerful, because I mean, it takes a family definitely will be the one to keep you going, because at the end of the day, I mean, we're kind of doing it for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not to live an average life too.
Yeah, and not everybody does it for the money. I mean, you can make money here doing what you're doing on your own, but a lot of people, it's the freedom. Right? They want to go on vacation. They want to work remotely. They want to be able to, take their family somewhere, and maybe you work a couple hours a day and then still, be working and having a vacation at the same time. you typically can't do that in 9 to 5. Having and here's a great statistic people talk a lot about. I've seen it not too long ago, that only about 4% of businesses make it over $1 million a year in revenue. So 96% of businesses don't make it over $1 million in revenue. Well, why is that? With all the access of information today, go to a bookstore, go to a library, go on the internet, everything's there. Well, the reason is not everybody wants a 7-figure business. Some people are thrilled with, hey, I'll take a mid-6-figure business, work a couple hours a day remotely from wherever I want, so I have time with my family. And there's nothing wrong with that. But giving them the ability to do that, showing them how to do that, that's powerful to be able to do
that. What you just said, I do have a question, because what is that magic number? Do you think that, like, if you make more than this, then there's like you really don't need this much money? You know what I mean? Like, there's a point of you're gonna make so much money where, like, you're not gonna be able to eventually use that money, or you could, but like you could buy anything you want. What's that number, like, per month? Like, if you made this much money per month, you can live a fantastic lifestyle.
Yeah, everybody's got a different number. If you're a corporate employee, it's like, the 10,000. That's usually the first number. If I can get $10,000 a month, I'm living like a rock star. And once you get to the 10,000, then the next one's usually 50,000. Once you get to 50,000, and once you get to 50,000 a month, you probably don't have too many problems. And once from there, the next one is usually the $100,000 a month, right? At that level, that's a bigger team you're typically doing. There's a little bit more things going on in your business, depending on the type of business. I know businesses that are doing $100,000 a month and they're losing money, right? Depends on the business. But from a personal income level, I'd say it all starts with 10K. Once you get to 10K, you're doing okay. 50K is typically the next level. And at 50K, you're at the, top 0.5% of earners in the US. And I think that's kind of where you get to that FU money that, you don't need anything. Of course, there's the Elon Musk's of the world. That's kind of a whole nother category. But for the average entrepreneur, if you're getting to that $50,000 a month, in personal income, I think most people would be pretty happy with that.
50K would be that magic number. After that, you pretty much, that money, like the money you're just investing or something like that. Because
think about what it costs to have a big home. What's that? Maybe $20,000 a month, having some great cars. Once you get past $25,000, $30,000 a month, you're living a pretty large life. Once you get 50, unless you want a private plane and a Bugatti, you're doing pretty good. But for most people at 50 grand a month, you're living that rock star lifestyle. Yeah, for sure. You're a rock star.
What drive does someone need? Because I've recently actually not wanted more. Does that make sense? Like, sure. Recently, back when I first started my business, I wanted Ferraris, I wanted a nice house, I wanted to be in fantastic shape. I wanted, like, just what rich, nice things. I wanted, like, the best. I wanted to be like be the person driving the Ferrari, and I think more of it was just because, like, I wanted attention. I'm driving the Ferrari, everyone's got to look at me. But I don't really want those things anymore. So, like, how does someone keep the drive when, like, in sales, when they don't want things? Do you see that common? Or
there's that glass ceiling of motivation. That what happens with the ceiling of motivation, what happens to keep you going when you've got everything? And for different people it's different. In the sales organizations, once somebody's hitting $20,000 a month, it's a pretty good income. They're not as hungry as somebody that's at $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month trying to get there. So part of it is, especially as an entrepreneur, when you want to get to that next level, we talked about 50,000. That's why bother even getting up after 50,000, because you're making the lifestyle you want. The key is one of the things that before I alluded to is what drives me is the people I can help. It's a mission. It comes down to, one, it's the mission, and two, I want to win. I want to be out there. I want to be in the game. I want to keep playing. It's no longer about the money. It's a scorecard. It's, where am I in the marketplace? Where am I competing? Who am I competing with? That kind of level. So it helps to, have that hunger to keep going. But you're right, after a while, money is not an issue anymore. Then it's a scorecard. How much can I go? How big of a company can I create? What kind of impact can I have on the world? Because if you're making a lot of money in your business, that means you're helping a lot of people. So then it becomes about the mission. What is the mission that's going to keep you motivated to get going? And that's what when I see, excuse me, that's what I see. Anybody that's going at that level, like we'll talk about Elon Musk. He's trying to put a man on Mars, right? I mean, that's his mission. I mean, he doesn't ever need any money anymore. But look what he's trying to do. He
Yeah.
wants to
Okay.
stop us from using fossil fuel, and he wants to put a man on Mars. Look at that mission. I mean, that's the kind of mission he has. Obviously, bring it down level to the entrepreneurial level. So, what's the mission you have in your life? And it could be that you want to make, a couple different entrepreneurs out there to big businesses. They talk about, I want to help 1 million entrepreneurs build their business. So whatever it is, I want to help 1 million people get in the best shape of their life. I want to help 500,000 people have the best relationship they can ever have with their significant other. So it becomes more about the mission. And that's what keeps driving people past that number.
I think mission's more important. To me, it just now, like after being in the entrepreneur space for a while, I would think the mission would be more important than the cars and stuff like that. But I think if the cars and stuff get you going, there's nothing wrong with that. Like if that's something that gets you started and that you want to go for. But like you said, Elon Musk he's accomplished everything. So he has to have a bigger mission, or he's just gonna be like, I mean, I've already accomplished everything. There's nothing left for me to do. Putting a man on Mars, I mean,
that's pretty powerful, right?
Powerful, yeah. When you said that, I'm like, man, what's my man on Mars mission?
That's pretty powerful. So that that's what keeps driving people. And sure, everybody wants the toys, but once you get past the toys, that's not going to keep you going. And you know what? It's okay if you don't want to keep going. If you just want to stop at that, $100,000 a month level because you're living that life, that's cool too. Sometimes the mission is that I want to make enough money so I never have to work again and me and my family can live comfortably. That's okay to have that kind of mission if that's what you want. There's a lot of people out there that are talking about, just working 2, 3, 4 hours a day and having a business run for them because their mission is to spend time with the family. And that's okay too. So that's what keeps going. It's the mission. It's really where you want to get to that gets you motivated to keep going every day, especially when you don't want to. It's having that mission.
Damn. How did you discover your mission? Like, was there a process or anything you went through, or how did you discover that it was like ultimately family and stuff like that? You know what I mean? Whenever I asked you that question, you're like, family is what's going to keep me going at the end of the day. And it's not like you could have said anything else. You could have said, I want a Ferrari or I want like other things, but you said family is going to keep you going. So how were you able to really and not only did you say family, you said it's the people you're helping. You quit. Sure. Now you don't help the people get to accomplish their dreams and goals. So, how did you come across that, or how did that come to you?
Good question, Marcus. I'd say one of it's changed over time.
Okay.
When you first started out, you want the toys. I wanted the Porsche 911. That was it. You go for the toys. I wanted the 10,000 square foot mansion, right? You start with wanting those things. And then as you get closer to them, and as you realize what's important to you, it's like, okay, when you're sitting in a Porsche versus sitting in a Lexus, can you really tell the difference? I mean, visually on the outside, it's a different looking car, but inside, I mean, you can't drive most places 80 miles an hour anyway. So after you get past that, well, then what's next? And part of it is, obviously I got the gray hairs to prove. I've got some experience underneath my belt. Part of that is you get more experience and get vintage, as some people would say. Your values change, and it's no longer about just having the toys, but it's okay. I have a family now, and I want to support the family, and that's really what drives you. You'll do more to help other people and to take care of other people than you'll ever do for yourself. So that I learned just from I have a family now. It's not just about me. It's how can I support them? If I disappear tomorrow, who's going to take care of my family? How are they going to survive? So I want to make sure that we put those things in place, that's taken care of. So that's what got it for me. And then once you get to the next level, it's, people need my help. I've seen, so many companies struggle and so many people struggle with their sales process and hiring teams. It's like, I can make a difference. And, there's a lot of people like me out there to doing it, but there's a lot more people that need help than we can manage.
Yep.
So if I can help an entrepreneur that's about ready to give up and say, screw it, I don't want a sales team anymore. I don't want to do this. I'm just going to go back to corporate America. If I can help him get over that by putting these things in place for him or her, and they can build their business and help them achieve their dream and help them take care of their family, that's powerful. That's
you change his life. You change his or her life.
Exactly. You're changing lives. That's a lot more important than me driving a Ferrari, at least in my opinion. So that's kind of where you get to that level. And that's why I keep going. That's why I keep doing this when I want to throw it in the towel and say, this isn't worth it. I'll do something else. And then I get a call from somebody and I'd say, hey, can you listen to my sales calls? It's not going too well. Or, hey, can you have a conversation with my sales manager? Something's not right with the team and I think we need some assistance. Then you get reinvigorated. You want to keep going and going and help more people.
Damn, powerful. So I'm a business owner.
Okay.
I'm a business owner, and just to kind of give an overview, use me as an example. How can you help me? Like, we've talked about sales, we've talked about processes. In a nutshell, like, how can you help me and businesses just like me? So, I mean, not every business is going to be a marketing agency. Not every business, like, you know what I mean? There's coaches, consultants, there's doctors, lawyers. There's so many businesses. So, what are like the top, I would say, 5 industries you help, and then like, how do you help them?
Sure. Service-based businesses are good, and that could be anything from local service-based businesses. You can be selling roofing, you can be selling solar, you can be selling things like that. So anybody that's doing face-to-face selling, and then I'd say online. If you're a coach, consultants, agency owner, service provider, things like that. I work with companies at that level and help them with their sales team. So it's, what's your sales process look like? How can we increase your closing ratio? How can we make sure that when you bring a new person on, they ramp up as quick as possible and start selling? And how do you maintain that leadership? How can you continue to grow your business? Once you have a salesperson on the team, what's the training process look like? What is the training you do on your team? Is it weekly? Is it monthly? How do you make sure your team continues to move forward? So I work with companies at that level to help them with their teams. And on the smaller level is I work with entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, agency owners in creating sales processes for themselves. As I mentioned, some people are very happy with making a couple $100,000 a year working for themselves, taking a few sales calls a day, but helping them increase their close rate. They don't have a big team, but they get 3 or 4 calls a day, and they need to be able to close, 2 of those out of the 4 or whatever. I help them put sales processes in place for themselves. Many entrepreneurs get into the business world and don't really have a lot of sales experience, and they kind of wing it. And they're like, man, I suck at this. What's going on? Well, there's a process and you have to understand it. And you don't sell healthcare or things like that the same way that you would sell business services versus, lawn care services. So what's your sales process going to look like? So I help entrepreneurs with that, building it for their own businesses. So those are the 2 tracks that I work with. Companies that already have 2, 3, 4 salespeople or more, and they need help with that. Or entrepreneurs that just, they sell and they just really don't have a process in place, and they need help with how do I convert more of my one-on-one calls into buying customers.
And the process, is that like the customer journey, like the journey they're going to go through from basically start to finish?
It is encompassed in that. It's, from the time that somebody engages with you to the time somebody becomes a client, what does that whole process look like?
Okay.
So I do look at the whole process and put the pieces in place, because you have to have consistency with your sales process versus your front-end process. So it's a whole encompassed process. My big emphasis is really on the sales conversation. Once you're in the business, once you've already got the lead, now what happens? How do you take that person who raised their hand and says, yes, I'm interested in your product or service, to become a paying client? What does that look like? And that's really where I focus on, helping them at that level, between the whole sales process, but also the follow-up process. What can we do afterwards? Because not everybody's going to buy it the first time. So what does that need to look like to make sure that we can get some of those people back into the funnel? And that's where I spend my time, helping people with that.
And where do you see the most problems in the process? Is it like the outreach, or the follow-up, or the closing?
I'd say there is no process. That's one of the biggest issues I see with most people, that the ones that I work with, is they really don't have any consistent process.
They're just winging it?
Yeah, they have a list of questions that they picked up from some online course, or maybe they picked up a book and they have some questions, but they're asking questions. They don't know why they're asking those questions. So the key is really to have a process of, okay, how do we set up our sales call? What should we start with? How do we set the agenda? And then go into the discovery and figuring out, well, what's going on in your business? What are some of the obstacles? It depends on what they're trying to accomplish. And then setting up the right questions based on what you want to help them with. And then, getting feedback, because it's kind of what we have. Do I understand what you're trying to accomplish? And then presenting, okay, this is how I can help you get there. Here's my process. You mentioned you wanted X, Y, Z. Here's how I can help you do that. And then it's really, do you want to work with me or not? It doesn't have to be a complex, 17-step process with all these lists of things you have to check off. It's really just being open with somebody, having a conversation. Here's what my process looks like. Most people don't have that. They're all over the place asking irrelevant questions because they read them in a book and then saying, oh, okay, do you want to buy? And, oh, let me think about it. And then you never hear anything. So it's that process there that's missing. It's kind of tying it all together and then getting
Okay.
somebody to that simple conclusion that based on what we talked about, based on what you need, based on how I can help you, it's just a simple conclusion of, oh, this is a simple sale. You should be working with me. Or being okay with saying you're not the right prospect for me. I really can't help you, and maybe you're better off working with somebody else.
I'm
That's
still
what I
working on
see.
that myself. Yeah.
That's a big one. Not everybody's a good fit,
And I
and
think
it's
that
okay.
happens. I think that happens in the beginning of their journey as they start just taking on anyone, and then
Yeah.
it really can throw your whole process off because you're helping someone that you can't even help, and you're trying to figure out their problem that you don't know how to solve, and then you also need to get people who you can actually help, and then you just end
Yeah,
up.
it becomes a problem. You bring on a client that you can't help because you need the money, or it's a challenging client. Maybe you can help them, but they're just a pain in the ass kind of customer. You don't want them. So part of that process is, and it's okay. Most people think, oh, I got to close everybody I talk to. No, you bring people on, and that's why you're an entrepreneur. You work with people that you want to work with. And if they're not a good fit culturally with you, and they're not a good fit energetically with you, and you just don't have the vibes there, it's okay to say, you know what, I don't think I can help you. And that's part of being in that process as well, of understanding where people are at. So if let's say you're still in your agency business and you're like, hey, John, I want you to help me grow my business. Like, okay, Marcus, what are you trying to get to? Well, I'm currently at 100,000 a month and I want to get you $1 million a month within the next 60 days. Okay, probably not going to happen, right? So we have to set the expectations that, okay, probably not the right guy for you. But if you said I'm on $100,000 a month now and my 5-year goal is to be $1 million a month, can you help me put that structure in place? Okay, different conversation. So the expectations are better. So now I know I can help you and you're not going to be a problem account. So those are the kind of things you want to understand up front. And then, you figure out who you want to work with and who you don't want to work with.
What and for those people out there asking, like, what would it cost to work with you? Like, what would that cost be? Is it tailored per person, or do you have like a fee per like beginner and middle stages versus like higher ups?
Yeah, my programs are all customized based on what
Okay.
somebody's looking for. I'd say if you already have a team in place and you need some help with getting to the next level, I start at 5,000 for teams, and it really depends on the engagement. Some people need a lot of work; it could be 50,000, but it starts at 5,000 to start seeing what we can help you with. On individuals, it's especially for somebody that just starting out, just having a couple of clients. I start that fee at 2,500 to 3,000, depending on where they're at, because I want to help people at that level. Don't make a ton of money at that level because of the work that's involved. But
If you
if
help
I
them
can help
there, then you help them
them,
the next level, then you
yeah,
help them the next level.
and then because if I can help you today and I do a good job and it's affordable and you like it, and at that level, $3,000. If I help you get 2 or 3 clients that you wouldn't have had, maybe even one, I pay for myself. If I can help you do that once a month, you just 10 times your investment with me. So I like to keep it on the lower end to help people at that level, because those are typical people that will come back to me 6 months, a year later and say, man, I need to bring on a couple salespeople now. Can you help me put the structure in place? Okay, no problem. So those are my 2 different limits of where I start, at the lower end on individuals and then up the higher end for people that already have a team in place.
Got it. Okay, man. I have tons of more questions. I could keep going all day, but I know you said you have 45 minutes today, and I want to respect your time. Where can people find you at? Say they're like, I'm interested. I need some sales. Like, I suck at sales. Like, honestly, I suck at sales too. I'm not be just completely honest. Where can people find you, reach you, and like maybe even book a consultation with you?
Sure. The best way is just track me down on Facebook. I'll be
Okay.
honest, I'm not a big social media guy. And I'm very limited on people I can bring in because this is customized one-on-one with who I'm working with. So I limit, 3 to 4 people a month for that specific reason. So I'm not out there with ads and a lot of content on a regular basis because I like to keep it intimate. And, some of the things I do, it's so customizable that if I, bring on more than 4 or 5 people a month, I wouldn't sleep at night. So I am limited to who I take on board because of that. So it's limited. However, yeah, the best place to track me down on Facebook, that's where you can see me. I'm starting to put more things out there now because I want to get more information out there. And from there, you'll see links to some of my other pages, like my Instagram page. And, I do have a funnel that's in the process of being built out to get people through, because I like to have them kind of, the same thing I teach people, somewhat pre-sold before they even talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the same thing in place. I'm in the process of putting a funnel in place. My new website is going to be called closewithjoe.io, which makes it real easy to remember, closewithjoe.io. Anybody interested, you can track me down there. There's a quick video on there that has a couple testimonials of people I work with. And yeah, if somebody's interested and wants to learn more and needs help with selling, I'd love to have a conversation and share with them what I know and how I can help them get to that next level and close more sales in their business.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you hopping on the call, and hopefully we can be in contact and stay in touch.
Absolutely, Marcus. I loved it. I appreciate you having me on today.
Thank you.